The city was bustling as usual, people rushing through crowded streets, neon lights flickering, and the smell of street food wafting through the air. Among the chaos, CEO Li Ziyan sat in his sleek black car, watching the world pass by with a tired expression. He was a man who had everything: wealth, power, respect. But recently, something was missing. Not money or success, but something real, genuine, honest. The kind of connection that seemed impossible to find in the polished, well-mannered women who surrounded him in his business circles. They smiled politely, wore designer dresses, and knew exactly what to say, but Li Ziyan felt nothing but emptiness. It was as if their perfection was just a mask, hiding the truth behind fake smiles and rehearsed words. He sighed deeply. For years, he had dated women who fit the picture of the ideal lady. Refined, elegant, from influential families, impeccably trained in manners and social graces. But each relationship ended the same way: cold conversations, hidden agendas, and a growing sense that none of them truly cared for the man behind the CEO title. The more he tried, the more he felt trapped in a world of pretense. That's when fate stepped in the most unexpected way. One evening, after a long day of meetings and negotiations, Li Ziyan decided to take a different route home. His usual high-end restaurants and exclusive clubs felt suffocating tonight. As he walked down a narrow, lively street, lined with street vendors, the sounds and smells brought a strange comfort. It was here, among the simple hustle of everyday life, that he saw her, a girl sitting alone on a small plastic stool, eating street food with such joy and ease that she seemed to glow in the dim light. She wasn't dressed in fancy clothes or wearing makeup to impress anyone. Her hair was tied back messily, and her laughter was genuine, free from any pretense. Li Ziyan watched as she took another bite, savoring the flavors without a care in the world. She didn't care about impressing anyone, didn't pretend to be someone she wasn't. In that moment, something inside him stirred. A curiosity, a feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. Who was this simple girl who could smile so freely? In a world that demanded perfection, why did her presence feel like a breath of fresh air in his complicated life? The girl's name was Chen Yue. She lived a life far removed from Li Ziyan's luxurious world. Working multiple small jobs, she struggled to make ends meet, but never lost her warmth or kindness. For her, street food wasn't just a meal. It was a connection to her roots, a small joy that reminded her of home and family. She wasn't interested in wealth or status, only in living honestly and happily, day by day. But as their worlds collided that night, neither could imagine how tangled their lives would soon become. Li Ziyan's guarded heart was about to face a challenge unlike any before, and Yue's simple life was on the brink of being changed forever. As the streetlights flickered and the city's noise faded into the background, Li Ziyan took a step closer to her table. He cleared his throat, trying to find the right words in a language so foreign to his usual conversations. "May I join you?" he asked, voice low but sincere. Yue looked up, surprised but not afraid. Her eyes met his, bright and curious. "Sure," she replied, patting the empty stool next to her. In that simple moment, the game of masks and pretenses began to crack. But beneath the surface, powerful forces were already moving, business rivals watching from the shadows, family, secrets waiting to be uncovered, and the impossible question hanging in the air. Could a CEO, tired of fake, well-mannered girls, truly find love with a simple street food girl? Their story was just beginning, and the city held its breath. Would Li Ziyan be willing to let go of his carefully built walls and risk everything for something real? And could Chen Yue trust a man whose world was so different from her own? The answers weren't clear yet, But one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. And just as Li Xian took another bite of the spicy street food she offered, a shadow watched from a distance. Waiting for the perfect moment to strike, Li Xian walked away from that street vendor with his mind spinning in a way it hadn't in years. For someone used to controlling every part of his world. Boardroom deals, company mergers, even the way people presented themselves around him. This unexpected encounter with Chen Yue was like a breath of fresh air cutting through a thick fog. Yet beneath that spark of curiosity, he felt a familiar weight, the complicated baggage of his life that never seemed to leave him alone. Back in his glass-walled office, overlooking the city skyline, the world he ruled so effortlessly was already shifting. His company was facing pressure from ruthless competitors eager to seize any weakness. Rumors were spreading about his latest business ventures, and alliances he thought were secure were suddenly fragile. To Li Xian, these corporate battles were nothing new. They were the very essence of his life. But this time, his personal life was slipping out of control, and that scared him more than any boardroom confrontation ever could. Meanwhile, Chen Yue returned to her modest apartment, tired but smiling. Her life was simple but hard. She worked at a local bakery during the day and helped at her uncle's street food stall in the evenings. Every coin she earned mattered because she was supporting her younger sister, who was still in school. Yet despite the struggles, Yue never lost her warmth or her dreams. She wanted a life where she could be proud of who she was, not where she had to hide behind expensive clothes or fake smiles. But when Li Xian unexpectedly entered her world, everything changed. Suddenly, the line between their two very different lives began to blur, and the challenges ahead grew bigger than either of them could have imagined. It wasn't just about a CEO and a street food girl falling for each other. There were old wounds to heal, secrets to uncover, and enemies ready to take advantage of any weakness. One of the biggest obstacles was Li Xian's family, known for their sharp business instincts and traditional values. The family expected him to marry within their social circle, preferably someone polished, ambitious, and well-connected. The idea of Yue, a girl with no background, no fortune, and a simple lifestyle, was beyond what they could accept. His mother, a woman used to controlling the narrative and maintaining the family's reputation, made it clear that any relationship outside their world would bring scandal and chaos. At the same time, Yue was haunted by her past. Years ago, her family lost everything in a failed business deal linked to one of Li Xian's competitors. That event left scars, deep mistrust, and a fear of losing everything again. She wanted nothing to do with the corporate wars that had hurt her family. Yet fate seemed determined to pull her into that world, whether she liked it or not. To complicate matters, Li Xian's loyal assistant, Mei Ling, was watching closely. She had been by his side for years, managing his schedule, his secrets, even his heartbreaks. She knew how tired he was of the false faces around him, but she also feared what Yue's presence might mean, not just for Li Xian, but for the company and their future. Mei Ling's protective nature made her a fierce ally, but also a potential obstacle. As the tension grew, so did the chemistry between Li Xian and Yue. Moments they shared, simple and unguarded, were precious escapes from their complicated realities. Whether it was sharing a laugh over street food, or Li Xian helping Yue in unexpected ways, their bond deepened. Yet, every step closer also invited suspicion, jealousy, and danger. Unseen forces were moving in the background. Rival businessmen were whispering about exploiting this unusual relationship to weaken Li Xian's hold on the industry. Social media influencers were beginning to catch wind of the CEO's unusual new friendship, ready to spin stories that could ruin reputations, and someone from Yue's past had reappeared, threatening to expose secrets that could shatter both their worlds. One evening, after a long day filled with meetings and whispered warnings, Li Xian stood on the balcony of his penthouse, staring out at the city lights. The phone in his hand buzzed with messages, urgent emails, calls from board members, and a text from Yue, simply saying, "Can we talk?" His heart raced, not from the business threats, but from the thought of her. Could he truly risk everything for a chance at something real? And would Yue be willing to step into a world so far from her own? Back in her small apartment, Yue felt the weight of her decisions pressing down on her. The more she got close to Li Xian, the more the walls she had built around herself started to crumble. But trust was hard-earned, and fear of losing everything she had worked for made her hesitate. Was this love worth the battle ahead? Their story was no longer just about a CEO, tired of fake, well-mannered girls, and a simple street food girl. It had become a fight for authenticity, for trust, and for breaking free from the chains of expectation. And just as they prepared to face the coming storm together, an anonymous message arrived on Li Xian's phone. "You don't know who you're dealing with. Back off, or everything you care about will be destroyed. The city never sleeps, and neither do its secrets." What will Li Xian and Chen Yue do next? Will their love survive the clash of worlds? Or will the shadows lurking behind them tear everything apart? The answers are closer than you think, but the biggest test is still to come. That message hit Li Xian harder than any boardroom battle ever could. For a man used to handling crises with cold calculation, this threat was different, personal, shadowy, and unpredictable. He couldn't tell if it was from a competitor trying to shake him, or someone from his past trying to warn him off. Either way, the stakes were higher than ever. Li Xian knew he had to protect Chen Yue, but more than that, he wanted to protect what was growing between them. A rare spark of honesty and warmth in a world full of pretenses. He arranged a meeting with Mei Ling, his trusted assistant, and told her everything, expecting her to advise caution. But to his surprise, she said, "If Yue is what makes you happy, then we fight for it. No more fake smiles or empty promises." That small but powerful moment gave Li Xian renewed strength. Together, they decided to confront the threat head-on. Rather than hide behind secrecy, they dug into the source of the message and discovered it was sent by a former business partner of Li Xian's, who had been quietly trying to undermine him for years. This person had been jealous of Li Xian's success and now aimed to destroy everything by exploiting his relationship with Yue. Meanwhile, Yue was not going to be just a bystander. She had spent years surviving hardships that many wouldn't understand, and now she was ready to face whatever came their way. She refused to run or hide from the truth. When the attackers tried to create fake news about her background and her intentions, Yue stood firm, even publicly confronting those lies in a heartfelt interview that touched millions. As the media frenzy built up, Li Xian stood by her side, not as a distant CEO or powerful businessman, but as a man who had found something real for the first time in years. Together, they showed that genuine love didn't need to fit the usual mold of high society or wealth. It needed honesty, respect, and courage. The turning point came during a high-stakes corporate gala where the enemy planned their biggest strike, to reveal fabricated evidence that would ruin Li Xian's reputation and force him out of the company. But instead of backing down, Li Xian and Yue took the stage together. Li Xian exposed the lies with undeniable proof, and Yue's sincere words about her life and struggles won over the crowd. The truth won. The rivals' schemes unraveled, and those who tried to break them were held accountable. The company's reputation not only survived, but grew stronger, rooted in the authenticity that Li Ziyan and Yue represented. Even Li Ziyan's family, and initially doubtful and protective of their legacy, came to accept Yue when they saw the strength and kindness she brought into his life. In the end, Li Ziyan and Chen Yue didn't just defeat external enemies, they overcame their own fears and doubts. Li Ziyan learned that true strength wasn't in control or appearances, but in vulnerability and trust. Yue discovered she didn't have to change herself to belong in a world so different from hers. They stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next, not as CEO and street food girl, but as partners who had rewritten the rules on their own terms. Their story reminds us that real love is simple, real, and fearless. It breaks barriers, defies expectations, and shows us that sometimes the most unexpected encounters can change everything. And as the city lights shimmered behind them, Li Ziyan smiled, knowing that for the first time in a long time, his heart was truly at peace.